going?
Am I up?
You're up.
Fantastic. Hi, Kyle Helen Engineering. For you, I think you have copies of Ticket Point Edition.
Nope.
No, you don't have?
This. Is this it?
Yes.
Yep, the mark is
Yeah.
Yep, Mark just handed those out. Right. So you got an area, and you got a copy of our final plat and the resolution. This final plat represents what you had granted a variance on a couple of weeks ago in regards to Dave and Aaron Mullen, who live adjacent to the property, are purchasing the property from Dorothy Hackett. And they're wanting to split the parcel in two. They're going to keep the south portion. The north portion is going to be sold to an adjacent landowner. So we're here just supplying a final plat for your review and approval. If you have any questions, I'll certainly try and answer.
Looks like there's three. Here.
Three.
This one.
No, actually what we're doing is highlighted in yellow. This is actually a subdivision here, there's a subdivision here, and there's a subdivision here. So those were all taking place, I think the first one was 81 or 82. The rest of them were done in the late 90s.
Yeah, they were all older subdivisions, but the only thing we're looking at is what I highlighted on the original yellow.
So basically, looking at that, we're basically taking a line across right here.
Okay.
So you got a lot here and a lot here.
There's a first, second, and third edition out there. Most of them done before our current subdivision ordinance.
Kyle, did you bring the big original plat too?
Yeah.
Just like I said, I have me sign on that now too. Once they approve it.
Do you want to sign on that one?
Yeah, is that okay? Because I don't have the one with your signature.
Let me actually give you one with a paper clip. That's going to be the one that's recorded.
Yep, she likes me to write that on the top.
Awesome, great, thank you. You want one for your file?
Yes, please.
How many individual can you, Mark, maybe you can come over? Show me on the map, how many lots are actually, not what we're talking about today, but like here are 6 lots, right? These are 6 lots. And then 1, 2, 3, this road goes all the way through?
Yes, that's private. Goes all the way through there. This was where the guy that platted all of this originally lived, he and his wife.
Right.
And then they platted that all up here just in 2000, whatever it was. And that's why we had to go the route of the subdivision ordinance. These lots here were all old lots done way before our existing subdivision ordinance.
Okay.
This road goes through there. This is private driveway, and that private driveway goes back to that house. The people that purchased this lot and they built a new home on it, that was part of the original subdivision, decided that they'd like to buy this when it came up for sale. And then these folks right here decided they would be interested in splitting it with them, and they want to have it. I think that one of the words to use is they wanted to be able to protect it somewhat. There was discussion that there might be another big subdivision out there, and they weren't interested in that. Well, I had explained to them though that our subdivision ordinance requires that it have hard surface roads, the current requirements, but they wanted this land to be able to have it. These folks may want to build, in this they may want to put a pole building or something like that on it in the future, which is fine, it's all for their own personal use. But this was all the older, and they're just making the 2 lots out of this ground right there.
Okay. The Hackett's no longer live there then?
No.
Okay.
Dorothy passed. She did, okay. I think she did. Or she might be,
I
I
thought she
shouldn't
was
say
in her
that, yeah.
retirement home. The
That's-
son lives in parcel A, which is the
Yeah.
exception to the
The
south
son-
edge of lot 2.
The son lives right down there, right,
Their house. Right, right.
modular.
I think it was modular.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All righty.
But the intent here, there is a residence on lot 2, which was Dorothy's. I don't think they
Yes.
have any intentions to do anything with that. They're basically just wanting to increase their holdings and kind of create
Okay,
a kind of a protection around it, so.
okay.
That residence has a conforming, well in a conforming septic system that has been in Atkins. And the comment was made to me in one of the earlier conversations, whether it happens or not, but they would keep the home, could be a place for like a relative that comes, they could stay there, visit, you know, that type of thing. So-
Okay,
Motion to approve.
And seconded.
it's by resolution, so all in favor?
Beershank, aye.
Primer, aye.
Seaman, aye.
Here's the resolution to sign.
This is it.
That'll be Mark's if he wants to pick them back up.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you.
Do you want, are you gonna go back to the recorder today?
No, I'm gonna get this all from the attorney.
Okay, I'll just leave it all put together in my office for you.
Okay. Well, is there
So
anything
here,
I need
you
to
can
take
have,
for
you can have this one back, 'cause you'll need this one for
Yeah,
recording.
I won't need that.
You might as well keep all that.
Great.
I trust you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Take care, Kyle.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks.
Kyle did pay a fee for that too, by the way.
I
today.
see you had the fee statement for him.
Yeah.
You wanna do,
I was gonna say, how about, everybody looked at the minutes from last week?
Both of them.
Yep.
Make a motion, they approve.
Okay.
First
The
one.
first-
oh, I gotta change
You had
Gina's
a
name.
correction.
Mine.
I got them both. All right.
Aye.
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 Motion to approve claims.
Any questions? I got a couple quick ones. Or we can do yours, what you got in your hand.
Might as well go for a shot. Depends on whose department
Okay.
they are, but-
Maybe you can, maybe Dana will call me. I see secondary roads had bill transportation for $1,700 bottom.
Is that her fuel? No.
I was just curious what that for.
I'd have to look, I can pull it up, look.
And I believe that was technically the only one I had a question on.
I do have that BDG thing too.
Okay,
Want that.
yeah.
Do that with a liquor license, this one.
Alright. This is for bars. Liquor license. Sarcastic. I think you looked at it before.
Yeah.
When is that?
Sarcastic.
Like it's late?
next
Is
weekend.
it late this year? That's why. It's usually over.
It's Labor Day
Oh, is that
weekend.
okay?
That's what I think.
Yeah, it ain't this coming weekend,
Yeah,
it's
it'd be a
next
week
weekend.
away.
Gotcha.
Gary usually makes the motion on these.
Mm-hmm.
So moved, but
Okay.
seconded.
All right, all in favor, liquor license for what day?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we're in the transportation building, was some rock, labor, equipment usage, clean screen, Dana's building, so I don't know. Do you have rock hauled over there?
Go.
Or maybe they're just now billing us,
Okay.
but that's what it was for.
Number, you please.
The different amounts?
Yeah. Okay.
1 inch clean screen, I don't know what that.
Right now, the other application is for the courthouse. And they want good.
That happened also when we had the 150th celebration, so.
Okay.
We approved that.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Which one was that?
Yeah, number 8.
Number 8, because then you have a different one for number 9.
Okay.
That's right there.
Historical Society. Or,
And that one.
all in favor?
Aye. Go ahead and approve those claims.
Yeah.
Make the motion we approve.
Gary?
Second.
All in favor of claims? Aye. All right.
How about,
You want to do number 6?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I would like to do that for October 5th at 9:30 in the morning, pursuant to the, if we get all the department heads' amounts to me so that I can prepare the public hearing notice with paper and time. We discussed in our ARP meeting last week, a few of those, so I think the other departments that are non-ARP funds are gonna come in and present to you why they need their budget amendments. If you'd rather listen to that, you know, because there's different reasons for different ones. So I might probably schedule that, maybe start next week, get them people in here.
So moved.
and seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Number 9, real quick. This is for the Parks and Recreation Department to use the courthouse.
Yep.
Second.
All in favor of approval on
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meyer is Meyer. Okay, Bart.
I reviewed the application this morning for change in land use map. Benton, this is Matt right here.
Matt knows everybody that's here. The applications for change in land use on approximately 2 acres. We're in southeast, the northeast, section 228510. It is right here. The intersection of 59th Street Drive and 25th Avenue. There's a total of 36.94 acres out here that's owned by Matt. The application states that he'd like to construct a dwelling here. He'd also like to put up a building. At the time that we took the application, we talked about the building possibly having temporary living quarters in it. At that time, he wasn't thinking that he was going to build a new home right away. I think plans have changed a little bit here now. In visiting with Matt, he'd like to get going on the dwelling right away. Within the building that he'd like to build, he'd like to do what he's calling carpentry, construction, and sales, basically making items that someone could buy, obviously, from his shop. The parcel that we're looking at, if any of you are familiar, it has an existing campground on it. It's called Hidden Valley Campground. Been there for lots of years, basically. This land has the river just to the north of it, and where the building site is basically is the upland portion of this. There's some upland where there are some other campsites and whatnot that are not necessarily associated with this project, but just for perspective. And then there's the lower level, which is in the floodplain, but where Matt wants to build here, you can see by the sketch that's right behind the first page of the application. He's got an H and an S there, that's where they would be located. As far as the photographs that I took here, I put those with this just for perspective as well. This place is well maintained. Looks like a park basically if you look at the photographs. The last photograph that I have here is generally where the construction activity will be. The house would be over here more towards the left-hand side. The shop would be over here more towards the right-hand side where presently there's been some cutting of wood, splitting of wood. Matt had a heck of a lot of cleanup after the derecho out here. That's kind of where that activity has been. But you can just see by this property that it's well maintained. This site, as far as our technical review, obviously it's not in production, hasn't been in production. The soils there's a couple of different soil types on site. They're predominantly loams and some loamy fine sand. There are some slopes here, can vary from about 9 to 14% basically. CSR of the site, it's not really relevant, but on the other hand, I just like to let you know there's a 5 and then there's a 29 with those two different soil types. So no issues there. This site's going to utilize the existing driveway. If you notice the sketch there, the driveway comes off 59th Street Drive there, meanders back down to where the building site would be. The building, there is a building that shows right here. That's an existing lodge building that's been there for the campground, and then of course the building site would be behind that. Randy reviewed this driveway, no problems whatsoever with the driveway, total compliance, not an issue. One of the things that we did look at here, which we're going to pay more attention to in the future, is traffic count on some of these roads. The traffic count here is an average daily of 20. New septic system is going to be required. I don't anticipate any issues with that. I've visited with Matt some time ago actually. It's probably going to be an alternative system. We've looked at soils. There's bedrock out here, and there are also some tight soils. Even though there's some loamy sand, it didn't show up in the area that would do him a lot of good in respect to his septic system performance. But whatever, it will require a septic system, and it'll all be duly done. Matt does plan to drill a well on this site. There's a well where the existing farmstead that's occupied by his brother, but he plans to have his own well. And so we'll work that out in respect to where the best location will be. As I said, the original farmstead is there. It's located just to the west of this site. Of course, the campground is here. And south of this site, there is some row crop, timberland. One thing I did forget to mention, just for perspective, this road that comes up to this parcel is where the VFW hall is, county building that you own. We notified 3 adjacent property owners of this request, and of course the newspapers of Benton County, as we're required to do. We received no comments prior to today's hearing. I don't see this use causing any problems whatsoever. Matt's here during season, basically all the time anyway. So there's really no conflict. His brother lives in the nearest residence, so there really isn't any issues with this.
Motion to approve.
And seconded.
All in favor of approving the land use?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Attaboy.
Thank you.
Let her sign it. Just let her
Back.
sign it anywhere. There's no,
Oh, that one.
no,
That's right.
no, there's not.
They're gonna talk about that.
Right.
What we're doing, so- Yeah, just, if I do it on the front.
Okay.
Do you want to do the BDG commission?
Okay.
But Heather Render Connect's application, Pat Stepanek resigned, so Heather Render Connect has applied for the BDG commission.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept her?
Yes, you do.
Second.
All in favor approving Heather?
Aye.
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 Did I send you guys to the Valley Ranch thing?
No.
Okay, she just sent me. They're getting their audit done, and you know how they usually give us their equity transfer every year, and last year you guys gave them permission to use that to replace the water heaters and stuff. And the last year's transfer amount was $23,097. The cost for their water heaters was actually more than that. It was $29,148. So that's a difference of $2,051. And after their audit this year, their equity transfer that was supposed to come back to us was $1,700, and they would like to know if they could keep that to recover that extra water last year.
I'd make a motion that we do that.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Let them
Aye.
keep their money? Aye.
And I will let her
Quite a
know.
difference between the 2 years for that equity.
Well, it's been a couple years and we actually got paid from them a bigger amount too. So
Yeah.
I think they're having their ups and downs too. Jerry was in, well, with that blacktop stuff. And I think he is not the chairman of that board anymore, so I don't know if it's, I think it's Brenda Hackpart.
Oh, really?
So I don't know if she'll take over that part coming to you guys or if Jerry will still do that
Okay.
for some of those needs,
Uh,
How much time are you gonna take for number 13?
well, that's just it, is
Scott.
the sheriff or
mentioned
Scott?
David Brown.
That's what I-
Yeah,
figured.
let's wait for them.
Okay. Report. Sorry.
Yeah,
Use your report.
Yeah. I had a mental health meeting last Wednesday. We've got trouble with too much money.
How are you on after today?
The state, we will. The state is requiring, well, they've got caps on what we can get, and Benton County is probably the biggest county with the reserves. We were set up to have these reserves, and now we can start down. Because the state's giving us too much money. $2 million, I think is what we're getting. It's a mess. Anyway,
That's the whole region, not just Benton
yeah,
County.
it's the whole
Yeah.
region.
And
So I
I
mean,
think,
we did a pretty good job of spending ours down.
Yeah, but we had a ways to go when we started.
Yes. Yes. But right now, we're sitting pretty good. I think our fund balance right now is like 65,000 before taxes start coming in again.
Anyway,
and we had, in our budget, we have money for that.
We reduced the levy in half this year for that regional payment, so that'll,
Mhm. But then we have, the state said we don't do that. I mean, that was what, 2 weeks before?
yes, some
Yeah.
counties actually had them reduce theirs. We didn't have to have ours adjusted. We'd already had ours where we needed it. So,
I think what's going on is Des Moines or Polk County is running the show. They are short money. And the rest of the state, like our region, is okay with money. We're good. What they want is for people to send money back into the state. It's what they're trying to take our money, is what they're trying to do. It's a mess.
May is coming, I think, next week for an update.
But we'll do what we can. They got a bunch of new guidelines as well. We gotta hire people, and they ought to just listen to what's going on in our region and do it across the state. At least that's what I think. Polk County is, I don't think they'll get whole. But they just, they're not very responsible with money as far as I'm concerned. Anyway,
Well,
Gary, give some initial claims and hand it over, please. How about you, do you have reports?
we'll wait. What we got?
All right.
Go ahead, Scott. What? Oh, wait a minute, that's right.
Okay.
Not me. You come in here and I was, where,
Good morning. My name is Ben Kirka, the EMS coordinator for the Benton County EMS Association. And I also serve as the EMS service director for Atkins First Responders. Last time we met with you was, I believe, December of 2019, and then 2020 happened. So obviously, just like everybody else, COVID presented plenty of challenges for EMS with personal protective equipment, personnel, the whole gamut of everything else. But we're still here, we're still doing good things. We've got a lot of good dedicated people throughout the county, in each of our cities, on our private ambulance services. They're really doing good things and pushing forward as best as we can. That being said, just like we kind of talked about back in 2019, things could always be better. Without looking at specific numbers for sure, I mean, we know generally that our population of EMS providers in the county is aging. We don't have the influx of younger folks taking trainings, becoming certified, getting on rosters here in Benton County, and then also maintaining that spot on a roster. We do see, maybe some influx of people coming and going, get some new folks in, and then they go out to greener pastures or wherever their career path takes them. So it's just kind of this constant flux of EMS providers. Costs keep going up, just, the same things that everybody else is struggling with. So just a little makeup of our county EMS system in general. We have the 3 transport agencies, ambulance services that are based in the county, North Benton here in Benton, and then Blairstown and Belle Plaine. Outside of that, each one of your incorporated cities, generally they're associated with the fire department. They also have a first responder organization that would go out in conjunction with the ambulance. A lot of times arrive before the ambulance service that would transport the patient, can start some of that initial patient care and assessment, those types of things. So the numbers there haven't changed. We still have the same amount of services, but as I mentioned, all the services, the common theme is what are we going to do 5 years from now? What are we going to do 10 years from now? I know, specifically for me in Atkins, looking 5-10 years down the road, looking at losing 2 to 3 folks that are kind of regular folks, especially during the day, just like any other city, things are going to get kind of scarce. So don't have, there's a lot of different causes for the way things are going with EMS. Some of them are kind of out of our control, I think. And not that money's going to solve all the problems, but obviously, funding, I think we touched on at our last meeting, funding's always has been and going to continue to be an issue for us. So since 2019, here in this last legislative session, the state actually ended up passing some amendments or some changes to Iowa Code Chapter 422D, which outlines some optional taxation options for EMS within counties specifically. There are some options for creating EMS districts. Both languages have been existing in code. However, there kind of some overhauls to some of that language, a lot of which I think kind of benefited EMS in some ways. Currently, there's no, to my knowledge, there's no benefited EMS districts within Benton County, whether, it can be geographically set up in a certain area. To my knowledge, there's none of those established. So the one avenue that we're exploring, based on the benefit for the whole county and not leaving it up to each area to singly find the problem or the solution to fix their problems, creating kind of that countywide blanket of a funding source, and that would also then allow us to strengthen our EMS association as a county, utilizing an advisory council, working with other agencies, public health, fire departments, sheriff's office, and getting everybody to the table and kind of unified push to really support EMS throughout the county and make it something that is truly essential. So with this legislative session, there was that push for EMS as an essential service. So as you probably know, police, fire, considered essential services, have to be considered or provided for, whereas EMS historically has not been. So the legislation did not dictate that EMS is essential, but it leaves it up to each county to then basically declare that and kind of decide on their own that yes, I think we all kind of agree that that's definitely a necessity. Everybody likes fire trucks to show up when your house is on fire. If you're having a heart attack, you probably want somebody to show up for that. So with some of the changes in 422D, one of the first steps of that is for the Board of Supervisors to pass a resolution declaring that EMS is essential within the county. That's kind of the first, getting the ball rolling, and from there, then we can build off of that to look at the taxation piece and all the other items to go along with that. So one of the things that we're approaching you with and asking you for your consideration is some input and thought as to whether you feel that a resolution by the Board of Supervisors declaring that EMS is essential in Benton County is possible, because again, that would be a good springboard starting point for us to really dig into this a lot deeper, get some public input, like I said, from other stakeholders with public health, fire, sheriffs, hospitals, everybody, to really bring the issue forward and see what kinds of things we can do to address some of the shortfalls with training, equipment expenses, all these types of things within the county. So after the first step of declaring, or passing a resolution, saying that EMS is essential within Benton County, then that would transition into creating an advisory council. So a lot of the stakeholders that I just outlined, we actually, when we redid our bylaws for the EMS Association here a few years ago, we actually included some language in there to establish a yearly meeting for an advisory council involving all those partners. So a lot of that, I think a lot of the groundwork is there for that. So it'd be something that we could easily move forward on from there. And then depending on the input of that advisory council, determining what are the actual costs of EMS in the county, what theoretically would we need to raise funding for, and then that would be presented back to you as a board to then look at. This is for that passing at the voter level, and then they actually changed the sunset clause from, I believe it was previously 5 years, and they extended that up to 15 years. So again, kind of helps us in that ongoing, once we get this project going, we know that there's going to be a lot of public input and education on our part to plead our case and show our need to justify, hey, this is the money that's coming in, this is how we're being fiscally responsible in promoting and sustaining EMS within the county. So I believe there's some language in there about providing annual reports, reevaluating, moving forward, that, hey, the money that we're bringing in is adequate and being spent justly. So again, kind of that first step for us is working with you guys to potentially develop that resolution and pass that. And outside of this meeting, we're definitely open to getting together and really digging deeper into this and finding some answers to how we can kind of maintain that system throughout the county.
I know this is a hot topic statewide, and we're actually discussing it this week at ISAC.
Okay.
So there's a session on this, because all the counties are wanting to know when we're gonna put it on the ballot, So they're thinking 2022, possibly, so that would probably be your earliest bet.
Sure. And I believe the language states that whatever fiscal year, so say if it's passed in FY22, the taxation would not kick in until
Right.
FY23.
Correct.
So, or.
We're always based on the prior year, so.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So again, not that money fixes all the problems, but I think one of the other benefits that we could see out of creating a countywide model versus kind of letting every city fend for themselves is we're kind of creating that overarching safety net that really brings everybody to the table, addresses everybody's needs, because, in all honesty, my needs in Atkins versus, I'm 15 minutes from a hospital, like a bigger hospital. Belle Plains, 45 minutes from a hospital. So we have differences in our EMS system throughout the county, and it would be good to have everybody at the table, everybody represented, to make sure that we're reaching everybody in the county as best as we can.
So on the northwest side of the county, Benton goes up to, let's say, 4 miles from the port. They want to go to Waterloo, I would assume.
I don't know if do they get the choice when they're picked up in that ambulance?
It's dependent. I'm a paramedic with North Bend Ambulance. I'm in Broxton. I'm the vice president of the EMS Association. It depends. Usually we have to go to the closest appropriate facility. So when we're in Brandon, we can kind of justify getting on the interstate and going either way. Depending on the level of call and why we're transporting, we will probably go to Waterloo, but there are always exceptions. And then if they demand to go to Cedar Rapids and we feel that that's not the closest appropriate facility, we can have them sign what's called an APN form stating that if their insurance does not pay the bill, they may incur the bill that they have to pay. But typically, 99% of the time, it's the closest appropriate facility, and that, yes, is deemed off of our experience, training, and knowledge and protocols.
So who picks up ambulance calls in Atkins?
Atkins, all of our district, both in Benton County and Lynn County, is serviced by area ambulance out of Cedar Rapids. Shellsburg, so when you get kind of on those fringe areas, Shellsburg has some response from North Benton. Hiawatha ambulance comes out for transports in some areas. I believe when you get other chunks down south, that Iowa County pretty much stays down.
Yeah.
Iowa County.
So like if an ambulance is called and they have to come out from Cedar Rapids, they're no closer really to getting to the hospital than somebody in Blairstown. Does the Blairstown ambulance just comes out and picks you up and you're gone?
Generally, from personal experience with Atkins, there's a good handful of times that area ambulance is actually arriving on scene before our first responder unit is. Just because, especially when we talk about our Lynn County district, and granted that's outside of Benton County scope. But with area ambulance, you have folks sitting strategically throughout the Cedar Rapids area. They're in vehicles, the call drops, boom, they're en route. Whereas, for a first responder or any of the, Blairstown being mostly volunteer, Belle Plaine being volunteer, you have that delay. I'd say if, like for Atkins, you're talking 5 minutes from time of page to en route. So if we go to, say, the southeast corner of Benton County, or our district in Benton County, you're talking probably a 10-minute drive time. So now you're 15 minutes from time of page to getting on scene, and the ambulance service sitting in their vehicles ready to go. They're, like I said, either there or they're pulling in right behind us a lot of times. So there's a lot of different variables with that. I know my case is somewhat different, like I said, than you get into the other parts of the county. I'm kind of the exception, really, just because of my proximity, but.
Southeast corner of Benton County, they could almost come out from Iowa City.
That's area. Area ambulance covers the southeast corner.
Okay.
So are you guys, do you think you're leaning towards doing the boundaries like we do benefited fires, or are you talking about just countywide? Just so I'm trying to prepare myself for all the different taxing entities.
Yeah, no, I think in most of the conversations, correct me if I'm wrong, that we were leaning towards kind of that countywide cover
Kind of like the
everything.
local option sales tax would be a countywide collection, not just the boundaries of like North Benton or.
Correct, yeah, and the wording in 422D states that all of that money then goes into an EMS trust fund, which is then set up and managed. So there's a lot of different aspects that we've talked about, but would need to be talked through about making sure that there's equity in how those funds are distributed also. Just, from the needs of an ambulance service are probably different than a first responder unit. And then also, there's been the discussions like we just had of you have outside agencies coming into Benton County to transport folks out. Is there, with the money specifically, and I don't think, that's not necessarily questions for us. I think maybe that's questions at the state level that would come out.
That's what I'm not sure if the Department of Management will make them do a separate budget like we do E911 and EMS. That way that fund is there and you guys have to expel it.
Sure, and whether that stays within services that are based in the county. I mean, personally, that's how I would
think
see
it would, but I'm not sure either. So hopefully we'll learn more this week.
Yeah, so that's, I'm glad to hear that there's,
Yes.
I know there's been a lot of discussion with other counties that are looking into this also,
Yep.
so.
And yeah, a lot of us auditors are, like, some of them were freaking out thinking it was gonna be on the city school election that's upcoming.
Oh.
Like, there's no way it can be prepared that fast, so then we're like taking a breather.
And those were some questions, some other questions that we had too, as far as when when we get to that point, what is the best mechanism vote-wise or election-wise to place that on?
I
What do
would
you?
probably say the general.
Yeah, so,
Because that would be
there's
countywide.
questions there. Sure.
I guess for the EMS, I'm all for that, funding them through the tax. We get this going here. I still think they should get the bigger slice of the pie than the ambulance service, because they do charge for their service. You guys don't, correct?
Correct, yeah, non-transport agencies or those first responder agencies are not allowed to bill per state rules, yes. The other thing, not to, discount, the ambulance services do bill, for their services that they're providing, however, I don't know if you're current as far as what, the collection rate is on North Benton. I think as an average, when we did the last survey throughout Benton County, the actual collection on bills for the ambulance was like 30 to 40%. It's not good.
It's low.
It's
Less than
not sustainable,
And
really.
North Benton is nonprofit really, isn't it? Yeah.
So even though, yes, they have a mechanism to bill, it's not always,
And we're actually the highest one, I believe, out of the three services.
Yeah.
Well, Blairstown and Belle Plaine, receiving them less back, I believe, if I
I think, yeah, I
remember
think
the
you're
sheet
correct.
correctly.
And a lot of, I believe all three agencies are using third-party vendors or billing agencies too. So it's not like they're physically, there's like a lag in them making their own invoices and sending them. It's all done through a third-party billing company.
Is it the insurance companies that, I mean, granted, look at it, insurance companies, you get your bill, and then they always got this write down. And this is what we're gonna pay. So is it for your ambulance? Is it the insurance company that's writing down, or is it the individual that just is not paying for the right?
So I'm not the director of the service, so I've not actually done billing, but to my knowledge, our reports have been exceptional. They have not, if there's a problem, our company will kick them back, and our director will say, you need to correct this error in the report so the insurance company can bill it, and then it gets billed. After that, I don't know what happens, but at our last meeting, we had really good reports that went through. We had none kicked back to any of our employees. So they're going through to the insurance company. After that, I'm not entirely sure what happens with them.
They're responding whether they have the
I understand that, but
obviously, so.
that was my question, is it the insurance company, or is it the individual that?
I see this kind of like some of the other services. We got transportation, for example, where they charge for,
Doesn't mean you're always gonna get the collected money though.
yeah.
And I
So-
know, didn't North Benton send out a mailing to all the townships? Townships by law have to levy for fire, but not ambulance. And I think some of them did jump on board recently and added a little more taxation,
Yeah.
but it's not a huge amount.
Not much, yeah, and unless, does the city of Benton maybe put in like so much per resident or
Yeah,
something?
yeah.
There's just
They
hit
do like
and miss,
allocations.
real sporadic. In the case of, so with the fire department funding, like you just mentioned, in the case of our first responder agencies, like in Atkins, we have some money set aside that's been designated through fundraising, donations, and whatever, that's specifically EMS. But I would say the majority of the funding that's coming for EMS, training supplies and whatnot, equipment, is basically coming out of fire department
Yeah.
funding.
Yeah.
So you're kind of pushing, at the first responder level, you're somewhat pushing fire departments to fund EMS and take that money that they could be using for, fire equipment.
Is there a existing resolution currently out there from other counties that we could look at that would?
We could probably come up with a template, but I would think, for us, I think it's best that they come forward with that for us and then we
Okay.
approve it. But-
All right.
Yeah, if you guys would,
But we can definitely find some templates and share with you.
yeah, I would imagine with the amount of discussion
Oh,
that's
gosh.
going on across the state, there's
Yep.
There's gotta be something out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
and then
if you would like us to do some work on that, to present you with
Yeah,
some
then
sort
we'll
of a template, we can.
I think that
come
would
back
be
with
very
formal
wise.
action
you
and
know.
get it approved. That way you guys can start your other process.
This isn't an action item, but I do think that this board would support, the essential services for EMS, in Benton County. Most definitely.
Thank you.
And I can keep in touch with you on anything, maybe
Yeah.
follow up an email or something.
I'd go forth and come up with a resolution.
Sounds great.
Thanks, Ben.
What do you think, fellas?
Thank you.
I'm for it.
Appreciate the support.
Thank you for coming in.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your time.
I got a few minutes, so I'm doing it home. Before then.
It'll probably take longer than a few minutes.
Okay.
10?
Well, we could kind of give them an update.
How much time
That's-
do you have?
Well, Ben's on at 10, but Ben's not gonna take too long either.
Oh, you got 10 minutes? I'm waiting.
Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, fellas.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This will be, those 2 pages are the quick notes of the document that I have in my hand. It's about 600 pages. Where the rubber meets the road.
You have a larger font.
No.
Where's the magnifying?
I'm wearing them.
Yeah.
So, if you remember back to, what, March? Where were we here? What
It was
date?
before March, it was like
February, we had 911 board has a consultant through this whole process with the paging system that's done and working well, and now looking into the radio project. And we were here, I think it was February, excuse me, that did the formal presentation talking about this system. And moving, it's called the SARA system, Shared Area Radio Agreement. Pretty much all of eastern Iowa now is on it, or going to be on it, including all of our surrounding counties. And it's, the biggest issue with the current VHF radio system that we're on is when it got narrow banded back in 2013. It basically took half the capacity of being able to put radio traffic on that frequency, because they needed other parts of that frequency for cell phone companies. So it does cause problems. We do continually have issues with radio traffic. So this is where everybody is going. So as a reference, the state patrol, the state of Iowa, based on a 700 megahertz platform. The SARA system is on an 800 megahertz platform. Yes, they will talk to each other. So it depends on where you want to invest your money and who you want to be in with. We've looked at both. We've had quotes for both. They're very similar. The big difference between the 700 and the 800 is the 700 is a state-based system, and you have to get all kinds of permissions from the state to even be on it and operate it on it, and what frequencies they will give you and which ones they won't and all that. Whereas the 800, we're in control of what we want to set up within the county for our radio system, and then it connects with all the other ones around us. So we were kind of on hold with this because Ron and I weren't clear back in budget time, and this wasn't included in the not to exceed levy for us to move forward with this project, plus you hadn't voted that you were going to officially move forward.
general obligation debt for debt
Yeah,
service.
and it wasn't factored into the budget, so we were just kind of like on hold, and we're just gonna take our time through the rest of this year and have some meetings. Well, now we have the ARPA funds. The 4.9 million is coming to Benton County. We've had our first committee meeting last week and listened to all kinds of different projects that people have in mind. One of the ones we brought up is on page 2, down towards the bottom. I got a little highlight on it. It's called the civil estimates. So if you look at those line items, it talks about it's the coordination and oversight, in this system, we are going to have to build one new tower to fill in the river valley between Shelburne and Urbana. We don't have the capability right now for that area. And either put a new tower up at our current Norway site that's taller, or build a new tower down by Norway. So there's 2 towers factored into that also. What they call the greenfield new tower sites there at the bottom. And then there's the coordinations with the civil contractors, and there's shelters. Anytime you put in a new building, you gotta have a radio equipment shelter and generator backup for power to run that equipment. And so that's all covered under the civils. That total is estimated just over 2 million. That's what we proposed to the ARPA committee. out of the 4.9 million is to consider the civils part of this project to get going. If we're gonna consider that, then we need your approval as a board of supervisors that we are gonna move forward with this total project, which is estimated to cost just at $7 million, which means you're gonna have to bond then for the rest in the future to get this done. So that's the point where we're at. So that's why we're starting that conversation over again today, is because now we do have opportunity to use some of the ARPA money, if the committee agrees,
Let's get
to
moving forward.
take some of the costs off of our local taxpayers directly through the bond and use some of the ARPA money to start that process. And the civils actually need to be done before we do the radio project anyway. We gotta have towers and buildings before we can put equipment in it.
Plus that'll help with the broadband stuff too, for
Right.
other reasons.
So that's what we're kicking off here for discussion and or decision is, are you on board with moving ahead with this countywide radio project?
We don't have a choice.
You guys have to say how we're gonna fund it for
Yeah.
budgeting, and with that amendment, that way I know where to put that amount.
Well, this money that we're getting, that 4.9, is it? You know, that is to,
And we believe this portion of it could be utilized for that.
Yeah, we've still gotta verify
Yeah.
that, but it looks like we can.
the whole intent of that is tax relief, is
Yes.
that correct?
Right.
And if we're doing a general obligation bond and taxing the
Right, so this
citizens.
will offset that.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, it makes sense to me.
But obviously, we had a really good discussion last week on other projects as well, so.
Yeah, I'm sure there are lots of good
Yeah.
projects, there's no doubt.
I mean, because we're gonna have, we have almost 2.5 right now for this fiscal year, and then we'll get the rest next fiscal
Yeah.
year. So, sounds like a lot, but it wouldn't be all up front. I mean, because we'll pay as we go with
Right.
the expenses, so we're hoping to spread it out
Do you think it could be spread out?
through the rest of the fiscal year, hopefully.
Mhm.
Would we get the rest of that funding, you think? in the
Well, at
meantime?
least possible, at least what, like Scott and I discussed it, at least tell Raycom, hey, we're interested, let's get moving so that we can start the process for our general obligation debt, do those public hearings. Going forward with the next year's budget, we're gonna know what amounts we're gonna need.
Right,
Because it was so late in the year last year, there was no
Sure.
way.
yeah. Yeah, we were trying to.
We
That's where some
decided
of
it
the
was,
confusion
rather than
came from.
push it through, said,
Yeah.
let's just
Stop.
let's just stop. This
Yeah.
is a lot of money, this is something that's gonna have to work for the county for a long time, so let's just
Yeah.
stop.
And we're also gonna add the engineers, we didn't think about that in that original one, right? So the engineers' vehicles would all need new radios too. And we can tie that
Right.
in.
The mobiles run about 3,000, if I remember right. Yeah, about
Per-
3,000 apiece. They are still coming down in price a little bit, but that's about where they're gonna land, probably 2,800, 3,000. So we have the factored in for law, fire, EMS. We didn't think about engineer when we were doing this, but it'll be
And conservation will be included.
more, yeah, conservation always was, yeah.
Well, the total, grand total, which is hard to read in this
Yeah.
scenario,
Yeah.
which is over, 7 million.
Yeah.
It's like 7
Yes.
83,
63.
63?
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. Yeah.
Then you'll have
Yeah, I
to
know,
decide how many
I know.
years you want to spread that out, because
Exactly.
Right,
because in
but,
10 years, you'll probably have to do it again.
Dollar and cents wise,
We hope we get longer than that.
Yeah.
Tama County visiting with one of their supervisors, I think they were either 8 or 9
By the time
on
they
their,
were, yeah, they had to put up a lot more towers.
they did, yeah.
We're blessed with where our
Yes, we
three
are.
towers are. We
Yeah.
only need one, and then we need a taller one at Norway.
Yes,
We're
and
still
then-
hoping to utilize the same site at Norway and just build a taller tower there
The
versus
building there is,
new.
yeah, it's new, and there's already a generator on
Yeah.
site.
Yeah.
So
Well,
we're hoping to
just-
just
Yeah,
basically put from what we could find, it needs to be about the same height, but it needs to be much,
no, it needs to be taller,
yeah, it could be
Yeah.
so.
yeah.
Um,
The issue at
but
Norway
It needs to be
is,
stronger to hold the microwave dish.
Well,
the
that's
shelter
just a
thing
matter
you're
of going
talking
through the
about.
right hoops with
Well,
that,
there's
with
a
the cemetery.
so we
Yeah.
have to get that
I
exemption.
get that, yeah.
So for the shelters, are you talking every place there's a tower, or are you talking storm shelters?
No, every place there's a tower, there
Then you
has
have
to
to
be,
have
we
the
call it
generator
a
back
radio
up.
equipment.
Gotcha.
There's all, every tower site has radio equipment
Yeah,
sitting
so
there,
that's
and
what
that
you
has to
have
be
to have
inside of
inside.
it. That's what we call the shelter,
Yeah.
the radio building.
Well, are you looking for a motion to move forward, or what are we doing?
Yeah, because we
Well, yeah.
can't do anything until.
You got it.
Yeah, I think so, because with the budget amendment, then we know where we can go forward with putting some of that
Yeah.
spending authority.
We, you know, I think this is what this money coming in is intended for, like I said.
And we're hoping, I mean, if they tell us no, obviously we'll have to go another route, or we can
Right.
use that ARPA money for other things to free up spending in other areas as well,
Right,
so,
No, I get it.
Yeah.
It's a balancing act.
Here shortly, we will officially be the island.
Yeah.
Tama
So-
County's the last to come on.
No, Buchanan
You
is,
can.
Buchanan's doing it right now.
yeah, I was gonna say there's, cause that's why they're having us discuss it, he's not that tomorrow
So, sir, I gave you a motion to.
Yes,
move
you did.
forward.
Wait for Gary, do you want to second it?
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor of moving on with the Raycon radio project?
Aye.
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 too. Is that approving for the civil portion to be spent out of ARPA funds? If,
If need be.
okay.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. Now we can move forward.
Yep,
Slowly.
We're gonna, yeah, this is gonna, yeah, we're,
Is there any possibility that there will be space, I don't know if there'd be anybody interested, but is there any space available on those towers for anything other than this?
You mean to rent space to like a cell phone company or whatever?
Yeah.
They used to kind of look at that. They are kind of in the building, or in the mode of, they just build their own now.
I don't
There's a
know.
company out of, I think, Texas. They call about 2-3 times a year and want to buy all of our towers.
Okay.
And then rent us the space.
and then turn
back.
around and rent us at overpriced.
Rent us the
Yeah.
space back, and then they take care of
Yeah, it's-
all the maintenance and everything, and then if they can rent space, they will, otherwise they would depend on us.
I just,
Yeah, right, no, good question. It's- Some of it also gets into, like, if we're gonna build a new one between Jonesboro and Urbana. But if we're gonna use federal funds, then there are rules against being able to profit off of
On a
that.
side note, how you coming with the purchase of the other tower?
The paperwork went from the title company back to the courthouse,
Okay,
so we know that is completed.
okay.
you know,
that'll
like,
have to be done before this, some of it too, won't it?
That's part of it.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
like you said earlier, we live in a pretty fortunate county. You go to Tama County, if you're gonna have 100% coverage, they got problems.
Well, that's why their bottom line is bigger.
Yeah.
They're putting up more towers.
I would bet that before they're done, they're not gonna have 100% coverage with that.
Amount too. I'll talk to the bonds guy.
It's tough over there in the Alps.
Yeah.
They don't have to.
Thank God it's their problem, not ours.
Our, strange enough, on every map that's been put out by every company, out in the nice rolling hills north of Atkins, there is a dead spot that shows up on every map, and it's a dead spot.
There's one on mine.
So will it be a dead spot after we get our towers up and working?
Should not be on this system.
But on the VHF, it always shows up as a dead spot. It's not very big, but it is right out in the rolling hills. You wouldn't think it'd be an issue, but Move 100 yards down the road and it works.
Done?
We're done.
Done.
Ben,
Thank you.
you're up.
Do you want me to read this out loud?
No, it's just, you can share it with them, well, you can share them, because then they know what the resolution is.
Yep, it's a small vacation of our easement, like we talked about last time, is, we don't technically own the ground, we own the easement to it, we own the rights to it, and we have no interest in it. And the landowners wanted a survey done and approached us and said, we agree. If we wanted it, we would have used it by now. So this is the recorded vacation exhibit.
So where's this located exactly?
It's at the pavement going to Palo, south of Shellsburg. It'd be on the northeast corner.
It's that little section down there with
It's
that.
a three-way stop.
Yeah.
Shellsburg, Palo.
So that was recorded, so we referred to that in the
Right.
resolution.
Yep.
Just cleaning up their title.
And we didn't have to do the public hearing, because you want to explain that part a little
Yep.
bit?
If we did own this, by fee simple, and we wanted to do a vacation, that would, put this little area in limbo. More or less, we'd have to have a hearing to have people, want to stake their claim to it, and get their input on what we do with it. Is everyone okay with reverting it back to the owners? But that's not the case. The owners still own the center line of the road, so it's just we are giving up our interest, our rights to it. So no exchange of
Money.
real property is taking place.
Make the motion that we go ahead and vacate that portion of the road.
You don't see any need for this in the future? Second.
Okay, by resolution,
Primer eye.
Beershank, aye.
Seaman, aye.
And we give this to the landowners to put in their abstract,
Gotcha, yep.
so they have everything.
I think that's probably all we need to get recorded, I assume, but I'll talk to her.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Ben.
See you, Ben. Now, I was gonna let you look at that. Probably know all about it. Rick showed me
Oh, yep,
that.
I'm going to that one.
Okay.
If you guys want to go, I can email Judy if you want.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, I got it wrote down, so I'll attend.
Okay?
And I think Rick's gonna attend.
I'll be there.
What are we talking
For the
about?
Heartland insurance.
The
you
Heartland
guys are always
insurance?
invited.
Yeah.
You gonna be there too?
So you want me
Okay.
RSVP, did you already?
I haven't yet.
I can email and say all three of you guys are coming.
Yeah.
Okay, you'll take care of it?
Yep.
There you
And
go.
Ron, is John going too?
I've lost him.
And Myron has gone in the past.
Yeah, I think everybody got their own, because I got my own,
Did you?
but you guys probably got it in one lump sum, I
Yeah.
think, so.
I just gave it to him.
Yeah,
I'll
I
add
was
4
gonna
for
say,
now
I didn't
until
get
I
it,
possibly
so.
more. For you guys, with Ron.
Got it.
I believe Nancy's going, and I invited Kirsten. So, I haven't heard, but I think Nancy is for sure.
Good.
Any other reports before we wait for?
Yeah, I guess. We had our first meeting for the SARS money, I guess you call it,
Not SARS, American Rescue.
American Rescue. Okay.
Yes, and speaking of that, so, maybe I should put it on the agenda too. Maybe we could appoint next week, add Shelby, Ben, and maintenance. Since we
Yes,
invited them.
yes.
Because they had a lot of infrastructure, good
Yes.
ideas, so. We invited them to attend, and they come, so. If you guys, I'll put that on next week, and you could appoint those three, so they're official on our committee.
Myron was there, and according to the,
Yeah, a lot of it's not gonna help
he can't,
him.
yeah, There ain't really nothing he can use it on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even though it's supposed to be, yeah,
It still has to revert back to COVID related.
okay.
So that's why a lot of it for the EMS stuff, we can say it's for emergency services, for COVID calls. You
But
gotta
they-
really be careful on how you explain it.
They had a lot of, there's a lot of things that, I mean, we could use more than 4.9.
Oh, gosh, yes. And we did discuss also, like, some counties, the bigger counties, if you're getting huge amounts, are allowing other entities to apply for funding within the county. But we're one of the smaller ones, so we as a committee decided we wanted to keep that funding within Benton County.
Yeah, I think Lynn County got just short of 23 million.
Well,
60,
Was it?
Polk, I think, got 90.
60,
Million?
59,
Yeah.
59 or 60 million.
So some of them, I know Scott County, they're going out and doing a broadband survey through their whole county and seeing who has internet access, or, you know, and they're gonna help
Sure.
do a big project like that. But
Because,
we, as a committee, wanna keep it within our county funds,
Yeah.
so.
We gotta
Yeah.
have roads for people to get to.
I know, but as of right now, there's still a lot of stuff from the US Treasury that they haven't said yes or no verbally. Like, right now, we're trying to figure out our revenue loss, because you can still, it's hard to prove a revenue loss because of COVID, but there's formulas out there, so. We're all learning together, all 99 counties, on how to do this.
I know EasyCog, they'll be sending us a letter. They're asking for money, EasyCog, for houses to be fixed up, and then, of course, they would be in charge of the money
Right.
and lining. I said, well, send a letter. The only thing you do.
And those have been, many, many years ago, I was involved in some of that here in Benton, where they went around rehabbing the houses, et cetera. It was a good program, really was. It insulated homes, et cetera, and replaced windows in a lot of these elderly people's homes, so, yeah. It was a good program, but there's just not enough this go around. It seems like, 4.9 is a lot of money.
You ought to see all the extra
It's-
soliciting we're getting too from
Yes,
vendors
yes.
It'd be
and.
sweet
Yeah, I've
to
been
have in
getting a
my
lot
bank
extra.
account,
That's why.
but, it's just for the county's bank
They'll
account.
set you up with a meeting or
Yeah,
an
no.
outlook and then
No,
call you and think you're gonna have a
Well, I haven't had
presentation
that.
and.
I mean, you could use it all for the
Pushy one.
radio towers and it still don't cover it.
Well, yeah,
You know
we
what I mean?
dropped 2 million today.
Yeah.
Just boom.
There are people who are soliciting you to manage these funds.
Oh, yeah, you
Mhm.
can spend so much for
Mhm.
admin costs, so we can hire somebody to spend our costs.
And we're friends. And
So,
we're friends.
I should get a big bonus this year for doing all the paperwork for this fund.
Sheriff, on the way up here this morning, did I see one of the new Dodge pickups on the road? No?
I saw one the other day.
You had it wrapped.
They might be trying, somebody might have taken one somewhere.
I saw one at Ellingers. Somebody was at Ellingers. this
So you
morning.
haven't reported it stolen? and-
Hopefully it's authorized personnel,
The prison industry said the strikes would take 4 to 6 weeks, and they came in a week and a half, so we said, let's put them on.
Uh-huh. I was gonna say, I knew I saw one
So
too.
they're all striped up. Now we're just waiting on the rest.
Sweet.
We've got one car taken apart. The radios come out of to go into the pickup. You'll have to see the mess of wiring that comes out of there. Yeah. Shouldn't be that complicated.
Then go back to one red light on the top of your car
Yep.
and a white band radio.
Oh, that's actually done with the phone cord.
Okay, she's got you guys added.
Okay.
Judy, she's got you added.
She does, okay. 10:15, discuss and adopt new COVID policy guidelines.
So this was brought to my attention as we've had a few clusters of contacts lately within the county, that the pay policy, people were questioning the pay policy. I think there's some misinterpretation online of what the meeting was about, and masks and whatever. But it's just to reiterate the previous policy you guys implemented on January 26th about employees using their own pay. This got added yesterday, so this isn't probably finalized, but I primarily just added my contact information to be the contact as opposed to the auditor's office for when there's contacts. So I've just made a few changes and I'm gonna tweak, and I can email you again, Haley. I just made a few changes about who to contact. There was some new guidance last week from public health. So one of the other changes is that their guidance is based on if you're vaccinated or not vaccinated. So when someone calls to tell me that they have COVID-19, which I actually had this happen 2 weeks ago and it just went under the radar, but I did ask the person if they were vaccinated or not. They were contact to a case, and the only reason it's asked is because that determines based on public health if you quarantine or if you don't quarantine. So I did add in here that employees with a potential COVID exposure will be asked by Human Resources if they are vaccinated. The answer to this question impacts the guidance provided by public health. This information will be kept confidential and will be used only to determine if quarantining is necessary. So I just wanted to get that out there because that determines if they quarantine or not based on current public health guidelines. So that was pretty much the only other change I've made at this point. I just got the forms that we were using for when people requested leave and stuff yesterday. I'm gonna take a look at those and just decide if I wanna tweak those or if there's a different way I want to do it. But the meat of the policy, I think, should still stay the same. If people have COVID and or direct COVID exposure, then they're to use their own time with their own paid leave banks. And then the other big change is just for people to call the HR department, AKA me, directly if they have a situation, and then I can walk through with public health and or these guidelines. And if I have questions, I'm gonna, I have a call out to public health as well. So in my previous role, if there was ever a tricky situation, we would work directly with public health to determine what the best course of action would be. So if something's not black and white, then I would work with them to determine what the employee needs to do for quarantining. So it's pretty simple, straightforward, not a lot of changes. We just wanted to bring it. I did update the date for today, and then the old policy had to be determined at the bottom, but I went ahead and put that the policy will expire, will expire when this policy is revoked by the Benton County Board of Supervisors instead of TBD. I just thought that way it still is open-ended, but it doesn't say TBD on there. So that's all.
My question to you is,
Yep.
you're gonna ask the employee if they've been vaccinated or not. Do they have to tell you?
According to the law, they do.
They do.
According to the law and all of the legal, I've sat on, I can't even tell you how many Zoom calls over the last year, and as this has transpired, they are supposed to tell me because that determines if they're supposed to quarantine or not. I mean, that's directly inhibiting my ability or our ability to tell them how to keep themselves and other employees safe. Again, I don't give personally two patooties if they're vaccinated. It's only simply,
The guidelines.
it's a guideline, yeah, literally.
But that's the guidelines from the CDC.
Yes. And that's the recommended, and it would be kind of difficult to not follow them because this is kind of the standard of what we should be following. So, and I guess if someone's really opposed to telling me, then maybe I can work with public health and they can tell them. But really, they should just be telling me. I literally don't, I mean, it's not, I don't care. It's just to figure this out. So, and then this way they'll all be centrally located with me and I can handle, like I just handled some stuff with conservation, like I said a couple weeks ago. There's a situation in the courthouse right now. I think we could have nipped some things in the bud had I talked to them if they had reached out to me. So. And again, I didn't make much changes.
Yeah, it makes sense. So you're looking for a motion to continue our COVID sick leave policy with these
Few amendments.
few
Yes,
amendments. Okay.
very minor amendments, but
Yeah,
yes.
okay, and I'll make that motion.
I guess I'll second it.
Well, they're going by the CDC guidelines, and I don't agree with their CDC guidelines, but we got a motion on the floor, so. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes regardless.
Yeah, what can you do?
And it was already passed in January, so
Yes,
it's not as
yeah.
if I'm recreating.
Is there a difference between the CDC guidelines and the Iowa Department of Public Health
I
guidelines?
think they try to match them. The public health, Iowa Department of Public Health, if I understand, if they go against some of the guidelines, they can lose funding. So most of the time, from what I understand, I don't work in those departments, but from what I understand, they try to just keep in line, basically. But again, I don't work in those departments, so.
We need some funding too, don't we? We passed them.
Good.
Okay.
All right, and then I think Mona's going to wait just to sit in here with her contract, so.
Paid part of that was under the CARES Act.
That's no
That
longer,
expired and
so,
that's gone.
Yes.
yeah, so people have to use their own sick.
So,
I think they've already filled this out. I think this has already been filled out by Nancy.
What is it?
CYA.
with regard to COVID,
Thank you, Mr. Hanson.
is there
Nice
any numbers in Benton County as to how many people are vaccinated and how many people have had the disease?
Just from what Katie
That was last
updated
week.
you last week.
Yeah, you asked her that last week. She
Yeah.
said just
Yeah,
under
she didn't give me an
50%.
answer.
She
really.
said about just under 50%.
49%.
Yeah, just under 50% have been
Yeah.
vaccinated.
Yeah.
But she didn't give me an answer on the other side of it.
Yes.
As to a number that it's added.
Do you guys want to initial one of those so I can give that
Yeah.
back to you?
Yeah, she didn't.
Well, I don't know that Kirsten been.
Yeah, I know,
and
I am
human
actually gonna
resources
call, I'm gonna
has
call
that.
Katie later and talk to her, just because it's good to establish that relationship for things start to go wonky as they probably are going to start again here.
I just put coffee on myself.
I'm dressed, I was gonna say,
Thank you.
super cute, and I don't see coffee, so you're
Oh,
good.
yeah, when I stand up.
Still don't see it.
When I come in, it was fresh, wasn't it?
It's dry now, but yes, it's a very cute
It was
dress.
the perfect color to spill coffee on. but-
It is, yeah, literally it blends in, so there you go.
I've got the same one, mine's a little darker.
Yeah, I hope yours is a little longer too.
I
You
don't
want-
know. Well,
It's bigger.
I can show you later.
Well, dark.
Yeah. Mona, when you going to Des Moines?
Well,
I have to present tomorrow, so I'm going today, later today too.
let's see, I figured I'd run one or so. That way Bill will check in, finish working for us today, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not going Friday, but it sounds like Mona's going, you're going.
I downloaded the app. Did you download your app? They have a new app now too for the conference. It's kind of nice, so I can select the app.
No.
I have our business meeting. We have a meet, I'm on a committee for the ARP, so I have that tonight. We have a business meeting Friday morning at 8.
What is that app called?
It is, I'll tell you here.
We need to.
They've had it in the past, they just keep updating it, but let me.
We okayed it already, but initial it.
Okay.
Do I have anything on? I don't have anything on there, but I have it.
For the sheriff's agenda? Well, we're talking about, that EMS levy.
Your
so
turn.
Talking about ARP. So there's different things if you wanna. Now I can't find my app, but I have it. I'll show you here shortly.
There's Mona's gonna get the big sheets of what I was doing.
Everybody has their own affiliate time too, though.
This whole thing.
There's something Friday that I want to do.
That's your CDC. read where I circled.
Thank you.
The stuff that Lindsay's going down for us,
Yes. I guess I don't know what she's going for. I assume.
the
that's-
justice involved.
That's it.
Yes.
The
Yes. she's
speaker
got-
sounds good too, the general speaker.
Yeah. So, yeah, because
I've
there's
got
some
'em.
justice
He's got
involved
it.
stuff on Thursday and
I got 'em.
Friday. that
I
Lindsay's
printed them
going.
off.
You guys are going, so we're covered.
I read it loyally last night.
I hope to be offended for it, and I don't remember if I thought it a lot.
There's another
I thought it
problem.
Me specifically. So there's the other thing Haley told me about
This isn't
in
gonna go
September.
Yeah.
That one,
Did you RSVP to that one?
Because
I just got it
everybody
yesterday or
is
whenever I was
Okay.
going to Lindsay.
Yep.
geared toward it.
Because that one looked more.
There's
okay.
money
You'll,
coming.
yeah, it'll be good for you to
It's
be on
just
with
not
those
gonna
people.
go.
Yeah.
Even the disease might go away. This
So, yeah,
bullshit
some
ain't
of
gonna
them-
go away.
Yeah, I just, I don't know.
Some people, I know I haven't gone, I went like my first year and then obviously not last year because COVID, but
Yeah.
like, I don't go every year.
Is
because
the-
it doesn't always apply.
The
That's
recent
just-
rain we got, is that gonna do anything to fill the beans out, or is it too late?
It'll help.
It'll help?
It'll help.
Ain't gonna hurt nothing.
Corn is done. Corn's done.
What? Oh, I don't know when it was. I drove from Benton to Atkins. I went south of Shellsburg Road a mile, and then I went catty corner across over to Atkins. It's not good. I mean, the dairy's probably chopped. I was gonna say 320, but I think it's more than that already, probably 400 or 500 acres.
Our corn's starting to turn.
No, it ain't starting.
Well, it has been turning.
It's done. Some of it is.
What color paint did you pick out?
It's a blue color. That's what I was reading, that blue's calming.
Are you going into Adams? We did get a hold of him yesterday too about giving us permission to get on. If we can't get US Cellular stuff, Adam's gonna call him for us.
Okay.
Cause I have his personal.
Okay, see, that's another thing I wanna talk to her
Kelly was begging.
after the meeting.
Well, I think they
Couple
weren't allowed
things
to
I
do
want
that
her to
anymore.
start working
Something.
on.
We're not
Yep.
rocking pink.
I love bright pink, but I don't want
Yep.
to get my office pink.
Oh, geez, no.
I think that,
I like the pink, but.
Gary,
I'm
did
not
you get a
trying to
copy
have
of that?
My office, just like cotton candy.
Nice easy pastel. That doesn't sound like hot rocks.
I,
Yeah, Kathy, little pastels, no.
But they look cheap.
we're close enough, Mona.
All right, closed session to discuss.
You wanna go on the close? Really?
We've got the contract.
Oh, you do? And,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Yeah.
we need to.
Unless they have concerns or
I was gonna
questions,
say it unless.
which you
yeah.
shouldn't, because it's exactly the same as Lindsay's. minus a
She's
couple
not,
details.
yeah, she's not here,
long
so
as there's not
we
any-
can't ask her questions, so,
You can ask questions, I just didn't know like how
no.
detailed.
And this would be, you'll approve it by resolution if you
Yep.
do the hiring and stuff.
I'll make a motion that we approve the hiring of,
Miss Carter?
thank you. I gave Gary my copy.
What's
Okay.
the formal name? Oh, yeah, I
Melissa
haven't seen
Carter.
that.
Melissa Carter. I did find out from May that yes, the car is covered. So, that,
A full car, like if we purchase it, they'll reimburse everything.
yes.
Insurance too, all that.
I'm going to assume so, because they said anything in regards to
Okay.
her
Yeah.
position.
So we'll have to do some crunching before budgeting and stuff.
How did we leave that last week? That we
That-
approved it?
Yes, but I was going to. like,
Pending,
And like the car piece was the only thing
You
that was
was
pending
going
that I was
to-
gonna follow up on
Yeah.
before we did anything with that.
Okay.
So I just wanted to follow up and let you know that I did.
Right. So we approved it pending the okay from May that the car was covered.
Yes, everything else was approved, just the car wasn't going to be until Alabama.
Sure. Okay.
And then the
Good.
region would have to approve that too,
Right.
so.
Yeah, and so on, and I'm going to move into Adam's office and then we will move into.
So office for all that stuff too.
All that stuff too. I've got her.
All the above.
Yep, I've already got her desk ordered, it'll be here next week, and then on anything that gets ordered for her position, I'm just making a note, ABA position to be reimbursed, so that way we keep track of it.
I give you the motion.
Yep. Gary, you ready?
Second,
By resolution,
Primer, aye.
Deershank, aye.
Seaman, aye.
Hey, thank you, guys.
Can I keep one of those so I can tweak
You
my resolution?
certainly can.
Have
We
Tracy
need to sign one, yeah.
Yes, yeah, I was just gonna say, after I say, I brought it up.
All right, we got another official one.
Yeah.
Which one is?
And then
He's got her right here.
I started crunching some
Yeah.
numbers, and then when I was talking to Julie about it yesterday, at some point, me, you, and her will sit down and figure out okay, exactly what.
That's what I need.
Simply as long as we have a rough amount, because we're gonna start having departments come through, like, with the budget amendment
You wanna go down?
request.
Because I don't know, because she was asking questions that I didn't have answers to in regards to like spending authority, because there was certain stuff that has already been budgeted that's probably not going to get spent.
Yeah, we might have to move you out of those line items maybe a little bit, as long as it's
Yeah.
in that right area.
Okay, so anything
Unless you
else?
guys are okay with, this was her budget amendment discussion, you, by this approval, we're gonna have to add this spending authority in the mental health budget. Or do you want her to come back formally?
Gotta have a dollar amount.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but that could be in your public hearing amount, as long as you guys are aware of what we're adding authority for.
Because the only thing she don't know is how much for a car, vehicle.
Right. And you.
So you and I are gonna have a
Okay.
discussion on Monday.
Okay,
Because that will give me a chance to talk to May and see, okay, what's the region's dollar?
And maybe if we
And
do
then-
that with May, combine that with her update next week, and then you've got that mental health portion covered, would that work? And May-
Yeah, she's gonna be here Tuesday, right?
Yes.
Mhm. And I will be in that meeting
Going
with,
back to the office, right?
Yes.
Did you take that for me? It's a
I'll-
payment.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I will be in that meeting with her.
Okay,
Make a
perfect.
motion, we adjourn.
That way I can just get all those numbers correct.
I'll bring you up to date real quick.
Because
Oh,
I've
you
got
have a report yet?
all of
Yeah.
the
Okay.
I never given us them
like
yet.
salary.
We had the meeting, you know, at the courthouse, everybody had good wish lists, just, you know, for last Thursday. Okay, that's no big deal. A lot of ideas. I got them all wrote down, she does too, but I won't go into that and bore you with all the wish lists. Second thing, I met with Jennifer Fensel Friday afternoon up here. We cleaned Adam's room out. All the paperwork and everything is gone. Now, when it comes to the computers, the desks, and everything else that's left in there, we come to agreement that it's ours. We're gonna use it. So, I was told already some of the things are already gone, either yesterday or Friday
I
already.
got the iPad, we're working on unlocking all that stuff through US Cellular.
Okay,
Otherwise, it's not gonna be able to use it unless we
Yeah.
get into it. The cell phone, we're gonna stop, but are we gonna let somebody else's department use that cell phone, or I guess we don't know what we're doing with that?
don't know. I want it shut off now.
If we don't own it, but I'm sure we do by this point.
So can I put a pin in
Mhm.
that? So if you guys need to, you know, contractually, whatever, move it someplace else, that's a discussion I need to have with Missy of, because she is gonna be working with providers and families, and whether or not we have to, like, do a separate cell phone for her. I'm gonna talk to her about, like, do you care? Do you want a separate work? So if she's like, no, I want a work one, so that way families aren't calling her private cell, blah, blah, blah. If that's something that you guys are like, what do we do with this? I potentially have a.
Okay,
But we
okay.
definitely would want a new number on
Okay.
it, because otherwise it's gonna be
Yep,
trapped with all the
yep,
WMA stuff.
yep. So you still want it shut off?
Yes.
Yes, so that, but I'm just saying, if
Yep.
at some point you're like, okay, we have this, to somebody else, like, just gonna put a pin in, like, I could possibly
Okay.
use it.
Okay, and the second thing is that I talked to Mona yesterday, finally, after all my adventures in the morning. But anyway, now's the time to paint the room before she moves in. Adam never painted it, you know,
Right.
after I built the walls.
He was fine.
2 walls are primed, and then we got the canary yellow, and that's on the other 2 walls, so she got paint yesterday, and it's lined up that I will help her on Monday of next week to paint that room.
Yep, and then I will get after it is painted and dried, then I will move stuff over there, and the existing stuff that is left in there, monitors, things like that. So I'll use the printer, and then the monitors that are in there will get repurposed for Missy, so that way we don't have to buy anything additional.
Okay,
So, and the desks and stuff in there,
okay.
I'll repurpose, so.
And as for you, my iPad's dead, so I'm trying to send that to you.
Oh, I
What?
did get that from Jennifer. It was just in
Okay.
the junk mail for some reason.
Yeah,
When you
okay.
said that, I went back and looked in my junk
Good,
mails.
good,
so I found
good.
it.
Because I was trying to send it to you, and she sent it to my personal account.
Oh, yeah, no,
So then I was
I
trying
got
to
it.
forward it to the counties, and then to you, and
I had a few other ones in my
I'm
junk mail
not
too.
tech savvy, so,
You're what?
I'm not tech savvy, so.
Nope, I got it, so thank you.
All right, now I'll take your motion.
Got it.
Hold it. I got a question for you.
Okay, what?
This over here, you haven't cemented that yet, have you?
Nope,
When do you wanna do that?
I don't know, I'm no hurry, I gotta get the dirt moved, and I got the chain link fence to put up, which I promised her I'm gonna have it done by the 2nd of September.
Oh, for her open house?
Yes,
If you need help, give me a call.
so,
Did you ever get an amount though for sure?
for,
Cement
no, I haven't.
to put in there?
The sidewalk going out to the south, that's peanuts, that'll be a couple $100. That's no big deal. As for the approaches, I would still I'd just as soon let it go through a winter, you know what I mean? A winter, I know,
But if I don't have to amend it again,
yeah,
if we could just throw an amount out there.
maybe a guy could maybe make some approaches in and out of the building, but I know their wish list was they wanted a lot of cement to park cars, and I'd rather have this cemented out here,
Oh, yeah.
which I haven't followed
Right.
through yet. I haven't,
Well, and I know DHS is questioning that one as well.
I know it, see, that's what I'm trying to work with, because what I didn't like was the 10-year payout plan,
It's just how they work.
Yeah, but at least you get something back.
Yeah.
It takes 10 years, but you get something.
yeah,
Because in that capital projects fund, we still have a little portion. But with that, I just want to make sure the spending authority is proper. in the
Okay.
Budget amendment.
Could those employees park over here and walk across there?
can't, it's all chain link fence.
They could park in this lot here.
They'd have to walk all the way around the block or around the building.
It'd be
Fenced
trampling
Yeah,
through
there's
the
no
snow.
Yeah, that's fenced off.
through the
We
building.
could just put a gate in there.
And-
We got gates, then you have to give them keys to padlocks. I don't
You
even
know,
have
in the
keys.
winter time,
But they're not walking
do
through
that
the
or-
wet snow, they have an actual
adverse
sidewalk
weather.
to get in. I mean, you don't want them tripping and falling over the snow getting in the door either.
Well, the only sidewalk, they don't even have sidewalks. All they got is,
We would probably want to try to get that done before winter, because I don't want to have.
and
them
see, I gotta get
falling
the
and-
dirt, yeah, I gotta get the dirt moved. That pile of dirt that's there, get that moved, cause that's gonna go across where the sidewalk
Smooth
is.
it out, yeah.
Or else you're gonna ruin the new sidewalk driving
Yeah.
across it.
True.
That's my fault, I got too many irons in the fire, so,
Where do you want the dirt?
Tear it down.
around the building.
Yeah, there's,
Okay, this is,
Yep.
we can discuss.
Yep, motion,
Yep.
second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Might as well get that shut off.
We can't keep discussing.